Well, welcome to Sarajevo. I already had my first obstacle because there wasn't a designated pavement for pedestrians, so I had to run to cross to the other side to get to the bus. Well, good, I am from Eastern Europe. It's not as if I'm not used to stuff like that. There it is. So fresh off the bat, I have some fun facts about the money here. On the banknotes of Bosnia and Herzegovina is that, for example, I have 250s here. Not the best example. These 250s here. And as you can see, the designs are almost identical, but there are different people. So what's up? Basically, Republika Srpska and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Each of these parts issue their own money with their own designs. So the money is the same, designs are the same, but in this case, for example, the back part is also different. You see, 250s, but different back part. And same happens with anything on different banknotes. And the only banknote that was issued recently that has a unified design is the 200 convertible marks, which hopefully a sign for proper unification and integration of these two parts of the same country, or not. But that's an interesting fact about money here.
As I head into the city, I started noticing the enticing ensemble of Western, Southern and Eastern architectural styles. However, what also was noticeable are the marks that the siege and the war left in each and every one of them.
Polish Pope was here, he blessed down and he prayed for peace. He says, I want you to preserve that wall of cathedral to remind us of the siege of Sarajevo.
For dinner, I decided to treat myself with pleškavica, which is a meat dish from the Balkan cuisine.
Few things what Sarajevo is famous for. One of those things is the Olympic Games of 1984. The Winter Olympics happened here, and we're gonna visit some of the exhibits that are remaining from that time. Even here you could see the Bosnian flag and the Serbian flag. A sign of omnipresent duality of this country.
While strolling around the ninth city, I noticed that there is a significant change in the city center around the point that is marked on the floor that I will later learn was the point of cultural division in Sarajevo. And to learn a bit more about the city, I decided to go on a free walking tour provided by Bosnia.
In that time was from the Russian Empire, 100,000 ducats given by Russian noble family, Roman, 102,000.
See a quick glimpse of cable cars used to live during the Olympic Games. And we are going on the way to the top of the mountain of Trebinac. As you can see, Sarajevo is located in such a beautiful valley with all those mountains surrounding it. And that became quite a devastation for the city back in the days during the siege of Sarajevo. Basically, the siege divided the history of the city on before and after. According to what I've heard from our tour guide, that everything before the siege was something that was referring like better times and days rather than what came during and after. The war also left marks on the city, like we could see something that's called roses of Sarajevo. Those are the spots in the concrete that were left after the missiles got into them, and those are normally painted in red, and they are marking the places where multiple people were killed during the shelling of Sarajevo. As you can see, the city is structured as such that on the slopes of the hills and the mountains are the domestic places, pretty much like houses of the people, whereas the city center initially was built in such a way that those were like the businesses, market, this kind of stuff were all there. And it's something that started to change already after the Austrians pretty much took a rule over the Bosnian. So, as we concluded before, and I was saying before, Sarajevo indeed is the place where Winter Olympics took place in 1984. And the sign apparently looks like it was put in here back in 2019, because probably Youth Olympics, European Olympics, something like that. I'm not sure what it stands for, but what's interesting is that you can see here that it took place in Sarajevo and is Sarajevo. So, fun fact, as I learned, that Republika Srpska considers its capital not Sarajevo but East Sarajevo. So technically there is a district of Sarajevo which is probably considered to be another town, city, that is actually close to where the airport is, and that's where East Sarajevo is. So that just adds even more to the complexity of this country and the state. And no wonder that in order to govern this, there is also the UN representative here, sort of like chairman, who is pretty much here to help introduce more of like a process of unification. We are approaching one of the Olympic sites, the bobsled track, or more so what remains of it. A lot of infrastructural elements from the Olympics were damaged during the siege, and there are a few things that are left, and not all of them are in the best conditions, but I think this is the beginning of the slide. I guess now we can just walk down the road of the sled, of the track. But yeah, here you can see there's supposed to be the tribune where people used to sit. So I think that would be where they get the initial starting position. Then you see it slides right into the main turn over there. I wonder what would have turn out of it otherwise. Wouldn't be the downfall of Yugoslavia or something, because, you know, hardly ever after those grandiose events like World Cup, Olympic Games, the infrastructural elements like this are in active use. I'm not too big on winter sports, so I'm not entirely sure why there is another thing like that. Do they bobsled starts from different positions? I, for some reason, thought that they go one at a time. Maybe those are like for different tracks. I'm not sure, because there is also like a turn. You see, there is another track that goes over there. It's kind of funny that we're quite far from the city, and this is probably not the most obvious landmark, which I think it became, like, you know, beautiful urban with all those graffitis, and I guess the historical context of what it actually was makes it a desirable place for people to visit. That is why they commissioned someone, or if it was not commissioned, but like there is a person that is hired to cut grass around this bobsled track that's abandoned. It's kind of funny, but nonetheless appreciate them doing that. It's also nice they did those little stairs that you can enter the track at any point. Not any point, but at multiple points, not just at the very beginning. No, it's all overrun by nature and vandals. Buildings behind me. These used to be it is called now District Tower, and it's supposed to has been called like this for some time. So initially a fortification, a fortress, with a great outlook on Sarajevo. It turned into an astronomical observatory until, you know, during the Bosnian War, during the Sarajevo siege, it was, well, heavily damaged, almost completely destroyed. It is now still in quite a devastating state, not really maintained. It's quite a curious site that you can visit while being out here in the Trebevitz, like a 20-ish minute walk from the cable car, and great place to check out some history. Besides the district tower, there is a whole bunch of other fortifications that are on the surrounded mountains and hills, and we gonna spectate some of them from the cable car. For example, right atop that rock, we can see a white fortress, which used to be, I mean, still kind of what's remaining is intact, is fortification to protect the city. That building over there used to be old casernes, or like the barracks where soldiers used to live. This is called cut beer. It's half light, half dark, and they just mix two. It's pretty nice actually. Actual breweries, restaurant, so the beer is straight from the source. So an interesting fact about this brewery, during the siege, it was one of the, if not the only, place where people could get water from, because during the siege everything, all the supplies are pretty cut out, and aid people could get was through a tunnel. It's in the western part of the city. For the effort they put into help out people, we got this plaque on the wall, yeah, to commemorate their help. So this is Olympic Museum. Beautiful building from the outside, and even though it's kind of small, it has all the memorabilia from the wonderful event that Sarajevo had the opportunity to host. The Olympic design was on point. I really like the logo. The mascot Luchko is adorable. I don't know, I think they did a really nice job creating a great image for this event. And even though just 8 years after that celebration of sports, the horrible siege happened, I think Olympic Games, they're about unification. So I think it's kind of symbolic that in the city like Sarajevo, they took place in a city that's been trying for a long time to unify many fighting sites. So I went to the Museum of War Childhood, and this museum is about the stories that people who were children at the time different war conflicts started all around the world, sharing their stories, maybe some moments, and sharing their memorabilia from the time, like something that gave them hope, something that gave them power, something that helped them to go through the struggle. There were a few stories from Ukraine, there were a few stories from Palestine, but most of the stories are from Bosnia, the time of Bosnian War. Some of them, are shorter, some are longer. Depends what people are comfortable to share. And I guess sometimes when you're a kid, you definitely treat things differently, maybe with some naivete. They display 40 stories at a time. It is based on the book by Yasmin. I don't remember his surname, but he pretty much established this museum. It's a great place for you to get a different perspective. And maybe if you never dealt with something like that, hopefully you could be filled with some empathy to the struggle that people have to endure. So in terms of food specialties, there are two main things: chivap and other meat-related stuff, and burek, which something I think that a lot of Turk countries are having as part of their cuisine. So the shkavica was something from this chivap realm, and this other thing got recommended to me today was Uređena Bosna. Looks like this. They have like big trays with these pies. Wonderful dough. Great white cheese. Not too salty. Not too anything. Perfect. Just exactly what you expect from the street food. Second one, meat. Oh, this reminds meat-wise like chiburek or something like that. Something that we have, which is actually coming from Tatar cuisine. Different form, different shape, but I don't know, it tastes really after chiburek. So nice, really nice dough. It's mainly like this tube filled with meat. They're in no comparison with burek from Alberheim, I'm sorry. Sarajevo is truly a city of meeting cultures of West and East, and funnily enough there is this line that separates West from the East in terms of the culture, because that's how the city used to build the eastern part. It was more developed during the time when the Ottoman Empire's governor Ghazlim Bey, I think it was his name, used to rule. So he built, for example, one of the first schools where they were studying 12 different subjects, and funnily enough, based on what it sounded like, they all at the end of the day were related to religion, because even the mathematics, astronomy, they were sort of studying for the sake of figuring out a proper way to pray. At least that's what our guide made it sound like, that to calculate the exact time when the sunset, the sunrise should happen, and when exactly the noon is for the prayers. So that was kind of interesting. And in addition to that, they were also learning languages, some theological sciences, and that gymnasium is still up to this day. In addition to the library that is also has been active since the time, but it moved places a few times, and during the siege a lot of books were damaged and burned, and the library moved from the temporary place of the city hall to a new that used to be there. Now it's in the newer building. I'm not sure if it was a renovated one, but there is a big plaque saying that it's a gift from Qatar, so sounds like it's relatively a new building. I'm in Shkenderia right now, where there used to be few of the buildings from the Olympic complex. Some of them were repurposed. For example, this one behind me is the House of Youth, I guess. That's where all the different sections for like dancing, singing, some sports, I suppose, taking in place now. And seems like there's gonna be Euro 2024 happening in Sarajevo, but the mini football one. From the 1st to the 11th of June. Oh, so it's going on right now? Interesting. Well, it's not only the Euro 2024 in Germany, but also in Bosnia. Good to know. But I am planning to, I think, found it. There is one of the few buildings that kind of remained as it was supposed to be, the ice rink, the ice hall, which was not repurposed, and sounds like it's not in the best condition based on what I've read and seen, but we going to check it out. Yeah, you see there are some signs that used to be an Olympic object, Right now, looks like there was a carpet shop, which is it active still? Doesn't seem like it. I would doubt that people would find it enjoyable to buy stuff from here. And even the car looks abandoned from this carpet shop. I like how positive they are that they have euro. Okay, so this is the university and the National Theatre on the right side. And some fun sculptures over here. Levitating people. Okay, a little fun fact. So, trams, as you can see here, they are considered to be the first trams in Europe, according to what the tour guide says. I would imagine they're at least first trams in Austrian Empire, because apparently before putting them in Vienna, they tested them in Sarajevo. And I suppose because they put those rails such a long time ago, the tram makes so much noise. Let's go. But yeah, fun fact. Okay, I get confused. So, this is indeed the university building. This is not a theater, this is a telecom office. This is the theater building. Well, kinda, compared to telecom, look a bit less spectacular, but still very nice. And now we're approaching the Latin Bridge. So as you can see, there is this museum over here, and there is a spot with marks the place of assassination of Franz Ferdinand. And no, not the rock band, okay, but the Archduke of Austria. And that's where Gabriela Princip, by semi-accident, stumbled straight into the Archduke and pretty much shot him to death, him and his wife. There were 7 members of Black Hand, this secret organization that was behind the assassination. One of them threw a bomb. Because of the explosion, the procession changed the route, so after the city hall, that is all the way down, see that building over there? They were not supposed to turn at this intersection anymore, but go to another place. So the people who were planning some mayhem couldn't succeed. But something happened, and the dude by accident started turning, and this pause allowed the Gabriela Princip to shoot him. That marked the beginning of the First World War. Yeah. So that's about it.
It's just different approach. In Serbia, Gabriela Princip is considered a national hero. The place of something. This was bad, place of silk.
So as I was saying, the city hall behind me, for some period of time served as a public library. I'm not sure public, served as a library. That during the shelling, during the siege, it was burning. People tried to save the precious books because there were some from all the way back since the 16th, 15th century. Books were stored in there. Yeah, most of them weren't able to be saved, and then, you know, as a part of the campaign to show what is happening in Sarajevo, the famous Bosnian cellos
player. They're formed on the ruins of the damaged buildings, and Venice City Hall was one of them. They became pretty iconic for this place. And yeah, now this building looks to be restored, intact, and you know, back to its great. Weird. So here I'm also next to Tashlihan, and actually the wall behind it is an old market. So the Tashlihan used to be a stone in caravan, basically where some merchants would come to sell their stuff, or people would just stay if they're traveling. And well, I mean, right now there's only a foundation that's remaining, and there was, I think, another active caravan where right now there is like some tapestry and traditional art shop, as well as some restaurant that is still active under the trust that the Ghazi Bey founded back in the days. So I think one of the other important landmarks in Sarajevo would be the Tunnel of Hope. It is located on the opposite side from the airport, so it's not super convenient for me right now to get there, as have my flight in 3 hours. Basically, that place has some war artifacts, particularly for the people who were, you know, helping out with aid for the civilians. And yeah, I guess it's a nice spot to learn more about the siege, about the fall of the Yugoslavia here, how it went down here. But it's not the easiest place to get to if you just on the public transport. Okay, now I need to figure out how to get to the airport. The only thing that's really sucked so far is that if you go to the airport on the public transport, there is like no pedestrian pavement. So you either walk on the road or you walk through the grass. That's about it.